Dallas Mavericks are sending 10-time NBA All-Star Anthony Davis to the Washington Wizards. The main piece of this is Chris Middleton. You see several other players mentioned, as they always have to balance salaries in these. But mostly this comes down to AD for Chris Middleton and 2 first-round picks. So as we sit right now with this breaking news that has just come through, Anthony Davis, Caroline, now joins Trae Young as a Washington Wizard.
Yeah, the Wizards' perspective of this, yes, you pair, Trae Young with Anthony Davis. On paper, you're leveling up. The star power in Washington has ratcheted up, no doubt. But is it really worth it? Is it really worth 2 first-round picks and 3 second-rounders in exchange for Anthony Davis, who is largely unavailable and always hurt? I don't think so. I don't think this makes the Wizards significantly better. From the Dallas side of things, you essentially traded Luka Doncic for Chris Middleton and 2 first-round picks.
Oh,
that makes me nauseous.
Oh,
that should make every Dallas Mavericks fan want to just pass out and throw up. I mean, like, Nico Harrison is like a human tequila shot. He just continues to come back and bite you in the butt. You wake up the next morning on a Sunday morning and you're like, oh, why did I do that? It's just a bad decision that just continues to bite you in the butt. This is not a anti-Chris Middleton sentiment, but you traded Luka Doncic for Chris Middleton and 2 first-round picks. I hope it was worth it.
This is one of the interesting things about the NBA, and to me, it's one of the hardest things about the trade deadline, is that so often we see moves that are just moves to make moves, to move some salary, to give you some flexibility for future years, and none of it means anything for the actual basketball we're watching today. Yeah. So, like, the hardest part about that, we have this conversation all the time about how do you make the NBA regular season more meaningful, and frankly, I think this year's NBA regular season has been really good.
Yeah,
I've enjoyed so much of this regular season, but these are the moments that you sit here and say, okay, from a brand standpoint, Anthony Davis is now a Washington Wizard. Like, we started this year with Anthony Davis supposed to be some level of hope of, okay, not everything is broken in Dallas. AD's going to be fine. And then we remember that AD's always broken. And Trae Young was supposed to at one point be a savior for the Hawks. And then it's like, well, Trae Young just went somewhere where he could get paid, and the Wizards just want to be kind of relevant again. So
the Hawks are better without Trae Young.
100%. So now you end up with Trae hanging out with AD in a moment that probably makes the Wizards more relevant, but it doesn't really change the way we feel about the fortunes of Washington for the next 5 years. And this is where fans will always say, well, it's not about that. It's about the future money and trying to work these things out so we could draft for this. It's like, man, it's just every single move. It just feels like it's a cat chasing its tail. And this feels like this to me. It's crazy that we have gone to the point where Anthony Davis, who, remember, when AD was traded from the Pelicans, everybody sat there and said, how could New Orleans blow it? How could you have that guy and let him out of the building? How could your culture be so ripped up that you could never fix things around Anthony Davis? He goes to the Lakers, who basically have him long enough to get a bubble championship and then decide, now we're good. Like, we're good. We're going to move on. And now all everybody's trying to do is acquire and then unacquire Anthony Davis. Like, this is crazy. Like, great. The Wizards acquire Anthony Davis, and in 2 years they'll move Anthony Davis, and we'll all say, oh, Anthony Davis is being traded again. Like, it's crazy, because I'm not trying to downplay what Anthony Davis has meant to the NBA. I think he's been a sensational player. But Anthony Davis today is a beat-up, broken body that you can't rely on to help you night in and night out. So you acquired a great video game piece, but you didn't acquire anything that, really changes your basketball team.
That's the reality of where Anthony Davis is right now. We talked so much about, would the Mavs make a move with AD at the trade deadline? And I ultimately said no, because I didn't think that there was going to be a single team that would be willing to give up actual tangible, values and assets in order to get Anthony Davis, because he's just not reliable. Now, you bring up the Wizards. Does it make them exponentially better? Yeah, question mark, but it does make them relevant. Maybe that's worth it for the Washington Wizards, a team that has largely been irrelevant over the last couple of years. So we were talking about this yesterday, just off air. We were just kind of throwing this around. What's the most embarrassing franchise in the NBA? I threw that question around to a lot of our Yahoo colleagues that are all here for the Super Bowl, and somebody brought up the Wizards, and everyone was like, oh yeah, I forgot about the Wizards. So maybe the Wizards at this point, yes, they want to compete, and yes, they want to win championships, but maybe the first step to getting there is is just being a relevant franchise that we actually talk about. I'm sorry, Wizards fans. I know that's not very nice to hear at this point, but maybe that's worth it for them. But overall, 2 first-round picks, we're seeing it here. Washington is giving up 2 firsts, neither of them considered a premium pick, 26 from OKC and a 28th pick from Golden State that they only get if it's 21 through 30. But still, Fitz, there's still 2 first-round picks.
Sure. All of this will always come back to the Luka trade. I'm sorry.
Always
the NBA changed a year ago when Luka Doncic was traded in a stunning move that even the players couldn't believe was real. When everybody was sitting there trying to figure out if we were being, fooled by a fake account on Twitter. And as it says here, Anthony Davis only played 29 games in Dallas. So you traded Luka because you didn't believe he was ever going to get into the shape that you needed to get you over the top or commit to being great at the game at a level that could make your franchise a championship franchise, even though I argue that Luka single-handedly willed that team to an NBA final. Like, we saw how good Luka could be. And for him, you got 29 games out of Anthony Davis. Now, we could sit here and say that that's not the Mavericks' fault. But also, that would imply that the Mavericks...
knew what they were signing up for.
100%. That would imply that they didn't know that Anthony Davis has a health history. Like, huzzah! I think we all know at this point. You say Anthony Davis, the person across from you says, never healthy. Like, it is part of the way we have to analyze everything. And I think the hardest part, even for Wizards fans right now who are scrambling to get the information, I'm looking at Twitter X as we speak. Wizards fans, all 3 of them, are just scrambling to find out why, the how, what it means. And I get all of that. But the focus today, I think rightfully so, is going to be on the lost opportunity that the Mavericks had. Man, Cooper Flagg signed up to be the savior of a franchise. Let's hope that they don't screw up Cooper Flagg the way that they screwed up everything around the entire process of Luka Doncic.
Is it fair to say the Mavs got more in return from AD than they did Luka?
I mean, considering that they got nothing.
They got nothing in return for Luka. You get 2 first-round picks. I mean, at least there's hope. At least that's future investment. I mean, the Mavs, this is what this tweet says. The Mavs essentially traded Luka Doncic for Chris Middleton, A.J. Johnson, Malachi Branham, Marvin Bagley III, 3 first-round picks in 3 seconds.
If I went back a year ago today and I put that same announce, if I went back a year ago today and that was the announced trade, I mean, there would have been riots from Mavericks.
I would have thought that was NBA Centel.
100%.
Fake news.
Would have been an absolute. So this is obviously from a brand standpoint, and again, from movement standpoint, this is a big move. We'll see what it means for the Wizards moving forward as they now combine Trey, Anthony Davis. Certainly, they become more interesting for the fans in the area that want a fun basketball team to watch. I don't know how much better it will make them on the court,